Hey, Prof, how are you? Good evening to
Hey,
you, Prof.
hi. Hi, good evening,
How are you?
and welcome again to another Enterprise Wednesday. And I'm with Dash. Dash, we're going to spar for a while.
Yes, sir.
So, for
Yes,
those who
let's do
don't
that.
know, I'm Vinesh, and a lot of people call me Professor Vinesh on campus. And I'm so glad to be back on campus after a long time and getting to gear to keep on uh, driving enterprise at APU. And we started this with Dash actually. So with me is Dakshina Murthy, our entrepreneur in residence since March, and who has sort of guided us, our APU team, on developing the ecosystem for enterprise at APU. And a lot of things have been done and achieved since then. Uh, we started off of a very uh, we have the entrepreneurship DNA. What we did with the DNA was we built it even further to ensure that the DNA was intact and also of the current trends for startups and entrepreneurs. But a lot of other programs were also launched during this period of the last 8 months. And one of it was actually Enterprise Wednesdays, which Dash came up with as a, as a reach out to the audience, especially our students, on how startups were actually being built, the challenges they faced, and how they have actually taken the journey to becoming successful. And Dash brought in all these speakers on the Enterprise Wednesday Fire Chats, and I remember the first one, Dash, that we did with the Trophy CEO Lines to a room auditorium full of about close to 350 people, and also another 200, which later became 600 live on social media. And we thank you for launching that. I think that was a very good start to the whole Enterprise Wednesday saga or series of fire chats, which happen every 2 weeks. What were your thoughts, Dash, when you first started the fire chat? I mean, what was the reason behind why we should be doing the fire chats?
Thank you, Prof. Before everyone who's watching, two fellas talking decide that the speaker is not going to be here and we've changed the topic, I must tell you that we're waiting for the speaker, Amarit Charoenphan, and we are going to do how to be a startup founder. It's going to be an exciting talk. Just hang on. And while we are waiting, Prof and I thought we should do a live talk. We actually plan to do this as a live talk. The reason for Enterprise Wednesday, Prof, entrepreneurship education requires strong content. It also requires experience. It also requires experiential enterprise education. And Enterprise Wednesday, which I, with permission, got it from my professor at Cambridge, who basically created Enterprise Tuesdays, credit to him, is basically to provide experiential education to nascent and early stage entrepreneurs. Like enterprise at APU have three parts to it. One is the seed part, where entrepreneurs are or aspiring entrepreneurs are not clear. Should I or should I not be? What does it take? Should I commit when I am in a university or should I not? So many questions comes into their mind. And when they speak to real entrepreneurs, when they speak to the people they have been speaking to all this while, and if they actually come up with a notepad and attended all the Enterprise Wednesdays, they will know every component of building a startup or from an entrepreneur's mouth. What does it really take? How do you build an idea? Do you build an idea while you're in university? How do you fail? How do you raise money? How do you hire your first team? Those kind of things. And those kind of things are very, very rich contextually, very rich, and you cannot just go and sit with a startup founder and just hear it because it takes a long time to go look for one, and and sit down and listen. But when you bring them to the campus, right, they get to hear all the questions, and all the questions are curated in such a way what an early stage entrepreneur would ask. So it's extremely rich. So this is what it is. That's what Enterprise Wednesday is all about. Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the
I think
speaker is ready now. Yeah,
yes, okay. We'll just
yeah.
wait for him.
No, no,
I
go
just
for
want to
it.
add
Go.
one thing.
Just
I just want to add one thing. I think all the sessions that we had over the last 8 months, every single fire chat has brought out a different core element to be learned
yes.
from
Yeah,
from the speakers when they share, right? So
yeah.
I think in a nutshell, it is lessons learned. And if you have
That's
not
right.
experienced it, you will definitely not know what to expect. And that
That's right.
money can't buy, that books can't tell you most of the time. And this is
Yeah,
coming from people on the ground who have achieved it. Yeah. And some
yeah,
of them have actually failed and tried again and achieved. Some have gone through the process, uh, streamed through it and achieved it at first go. So that the different various different uh, scenarios that we actually experienced during all these fire checks. And I think it was
yeah.
a mind-blowing experience to listen to all these people that were brought in for one key objective, as you mentioned earlier, which was to also to stimulate the entrepreneurial mindset that to be actually to be really honest that is sitting in a lot of APU stakeholders, yeah, mainly our
Yeah.
students. It is there. It just needs stimulation. That is what we were
Absolutely,
looking for.
absolutely. No, Prof, like you said, guiding you or guiding the enterprise team in doing startup at enterprise at APU. I would like to say that I think you and I actually, together with APU, co-founded enterprise at APU. I think we birthed enterprise at APU. I feel like we have together put together this thing. Without your support, it couldn't have happened. And I think your continued support is crucial. And it is a startup. And today is the pinnacle, the 12th Enterprise Wednesday under my leadership. And I thought there is no one else in this who is better to encapsulate all the learnings of the last 11 sessions then AIM. AIM is Amarit, is great. So we can bring him on if that's okay with you, Prof.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
Okay, no
bring
one else
him on.
better to bring this young man who's achieved an overachiever. And Prof is the Deputy Vice Chancellor. I will let him do the honors by welcoming you to APU, and then we'll take it from there. Prof, over to you.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Dash. Welcome, Mr. Amarit Charoenphan. In short, AIM. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on this Enterprise Wednesday Fire Chat session. We have been a very driving force as a university and institution of higher learning towards building entrepreneurship, not only the DNA, the mindset, the proactiveness, but also a lot of the programs and the outcomes over the last 8 months. And one of the programs or events is actually this Enterprise Wednesday. And we're very happy and very humble that you're part of this event this evening. And we hope to continue the trend in the coming months as well towards 2022. And hopefully, the relationship with yourself doesn't stop at this fire chat. We can sort of optimize on what we can do in terms of collaborative measures and activities in the coming future between Mr. Amarit and APU as well. Yeah, and as usual, my partner in crime during the Enterprise Wednesdays for the last 8 months is Dash, and he will take on board in moderating the session with you. I am very sure the topic of the day, which is how to be a startup founder, is a very common topic in terms of the fire chats, and we are going to learn a thing or two about you. If I'm not mistaken, you are our second, no, our third international guest, if I'm not mistaken. So we had one from Indonesia, we had one from the Maldives, and now we have you from Thailand. And I have so many Thai friends who studied with me more than 2 decades ago, and I think it's nice to see another friendly Thai face as part of the fire chat. So I'm going to hand over to Dash. Dash, over to you, and Mr. Amarit, thank you again, yeah, for being part of this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Prof. Sawadee krap. Aim. So it's lovely to have you. Thank you so much, Mr. Amarit Charoenphan. I mean, I actually have known you from 2013, I think, or a bit earlier. You have been always an overachiever. For those of you who are listening, Mr. Amarit, although he is a Thai, he is in Bangkok, but he's a man, a global man, an international man. Just happened to be close to us in Bangkok, but he is global in more ways than one. He sent me his profile. It's 12 pages. Even my printer ran out of paper. I've never seen a 12-page resume. I had to take the afternoon off to go through it. I can tell you guys that. Sorry?
More like a pitch deck.
It's like a pitch deck, and I think any investor would invest in it. Asian Director of Impact Collective, Forbes Asia 30 under 30, Thailand Startup Enabler of the Year, Thailand's Best Social Media Influencer, TEDx Speaker, winner of the SME T-Tech TV show, Obama Foundation Leader, Asian Tech Ecosystem Builder, Tech Source, founder of Thailand's first co-working space, investor, mentor, friend. I think he's just got married and husband to a lovely lady. I don't know whether the baby is on the way. I mean, he's everything. I mean, every single country I've traveled, I've either seen AIM there or, I mean, when I travel to these countries for startup events, people will know AIM. And they ask me, where are you from, Dash? And I say, I'm from Malaysia. They say, is that close to where AIM lives? So that's what it is. That's how I introduce Malaysia when I'm away. AIM, over to you. I like the topic that you chose, how to be a startup founder. Let's talk. Let me start with the first question. What does it take to be AIM?
It takes nothing and everything, really. Nothing is in the sense that while you've shared a very long rap sheet of all the adventures that I've been through or continue to, I've started with being an outsider in technology, barely coded at the past 10 years and only really picked up coding during COVID. Did accounting by training and never practiced. To be an auditor, I am a claim to fame academically is a 2-time super senior. So I studied my senior year both in high school for an extra year and in college. I messed up my credits. So it goes to show that education, while very important, but also, there are many twists and turns in life. So when I say nothing, is really, I have come to realize that at even up 35, you call me young. I'm getting pretty old. I started the co-working space 10 years ago, but I am still learning to figure out what I want to be and always reinventing myself to always finding a better version of myself that I want to become and working towards that. And everything is that, it's going to take your all. And then really how to be a startup founder is a terrible topic because the startup founder is going to be sometimes the janitor, the driver, the financier, the pitch man, the social media manager, the be all and all of this new venture, this dream that a lot of folks tuning in for the APU Enterprise Wednesday is curious, which is, you read all the books and yes, sometimes people say they fail, but, and then they succeed, right? Whether it's Elon Musk or my generation, Richard Branson. And I don't know who was your idol, Dash. I hope, hopefully not Henry Ford, or maybe it is. Just kidding. But
I'm just 2 years elder to you, man.
yeah, the deal is it was, there's the highs and lows. You could be standing on top of the world, speaking to all you folks, and earlier this afternoon launching a new project around NFTs, and then being, cratering rock bottom. And recently, just about 30 minutes before this call, I got word that one of my key staff is moving on, and we have to figure out what to do to make sure that we fill such big shoes. And that's really the day in life, the hourly struggle, which is, sometimes I'll make $1 million project in the morning and then spend $1 million by the evening. And how do you deal with that? And why more than 3 times the number of startup founders versus typical entrepreneurs, SMEs, entrepreneurs actually succumb to depression, stress, anxiety, and mental health issues. So I've been really through hell and back, and today is really just to give you the honest truth of the dark side and the bright side of entrepreneurship, and why, despite the grueling hours and the torture we put ourselves to, we can't seem to stop being in the game and giving it another go.
Aim. I'm really intrigued by the fact that you said you're 35 and you're still figuring out what you want to be. But you are creating, like Steve Jobs says, you are putting a dent in the universe, in the startup universe. And I'm not saying all this to boost you or what. We have gone beyond boosting of each other's fragile egos, that we leave it to other people. But we are here to speak the honest truth, as we said. But you're, like I said earlier, you are putting a dent in the universe. How do you I'm going to just ask a few questions and let you speak about this, how to be a startup founder. How do you cope with the kind of, is this what I want to do, what I want to become? Is there a conflict internally? Is there a harmony of hand, head, and heart and home, as they say? um, how do you reconcile these things, about this work in progress, and scenario within yourself?
I think I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs doubt their gut, either stick to their guns and go guns blazing, crashing and burning in the company, or they pull the trigger too early, keep changing their mind about things. And I think there is an inner peace that can be striked out of all the chaos. And for me, even when running Haba, the co-working space, in the first 3-4 years, we were barely making any money. The revenue was so low, it's quite embarrassing. I wouldn't even want to say it live, but you can find out. And yeah, we were losing money, and we were still trying to figure out who was our customer, whether it was digital nomad, startups, corporates. How do we make money? Are we going to ask for $8 a day for people to work out of our space? But there was always light at the end of the tunnel, and the signals came from the customers. Most importantly, is whatever we were providing, people love it, and we just had not figured out the way how to make money or scale ourselves. But people were, despite all the flaws, despite all the ranting, they kept showing up. Then I think the second part was the team. Like you'll know that you're onto something is when other people can pitch your dream and vision better than you, when they sign up to your cause, even though you're giving them less salary, but they really wanted to work on this project, when they work late nights and evenings, even if you don't ask them to, because they feel like they want to get the job done. And those moments of seeing so many people sacrifice and really give it their all, give you this energy that, with time and good headspace and really the right timely advice, I think most founders will figure out what they need to do, as long as they're listening to the universe, listening to their advisors, listening to data, listening to customers, and adapting. I think when they start to make bad decisions, myself included, is when they get too stressed out and they're sleeping less, they're drinking more, they're not exercising, they are always anxious, they have an existential crisis, and then they compound that by booking back-to-back meetings, overcompensating by working Saturdays and Sundays and late into the night, sending 4 a.m. emails, and going to the office first, leaving last, to try to really salvage the business, but they are no longer making the right decisions. And then I think the last signal, the last listening to be heard is really just from yourself, over the experience. We'll always have the highs and lows, but you shouldn't look yourself on a day, because the day can definitely always be ruined, right? But you can look at your life. Maybe a day is multiple quarters. Maybe you won the morning, the afternoon was a mess, the evening is all right. Then you look at your days over a week, over months, and don't always dwell on the bad side. There was this incredibly stressful situation 3 weeks ago where my MacBook, the bane of my existence, my treasure trove of decks and Excel and financial documents, just went poof. And I made the careless mistake of not backing up. I was so stressed out I was going to lose my life's work, and I was running around town. I couldn't work because I was so worried about, almost like you're losing a part of your brain.
Yes.
But then I realized, as I spent the time to listen, it was like, actually, I don't use any of those files. Actually, whatever is valuable is in me. I can create anything that I lost if I really tried really hard. And tying my success to, an external tool or some award that I won or some recognition, sometimes it misleads you when you're listening to the wrong signals, that people are telling you, pat on the back, you're doing an amazing job, but you're actually in tears inside, or you're just tired and you're lost. But if you actually, as I spent time just dwelling, looking at my MacBook and say, like, so it's what's done is done, how am I going to fix it, am I going to move on? And yes, it's very natural to be upset at my failure for being a techie and not backing up my Mac. But now that I have to deal with it, I need to move on. I actually need to get on working. And I did eventually figure out a way to fix it. Thank goodness, even though the Apple said it couldn't be fixed. But what I realized was that I started to, rather than listen to what I was seeing in front of me, a blank screen, I was listening to myself and say, I actually know how to solve this. I actually know what I need to do to get my life back on track. And I think that level of self-confidence without being completely delusional is a very fine line, in terms of having the wherewithal to weather the storm, and know from your gut, from your heart, that this is your North Star. This is where you need to do, come what may, this is what I'm doing. And versus being also open to being coached, open to understanding the situation and adapting. And I think that duality is an art form that continue to practice and hone every day.
Aim, that's a great jumping off point for this talk, to be certain in the midst of chaos, but not cocky certain, but to have that North Star that you said. Just to go a little back. I'm sorry to hear about your key staff leaving you, and I could sense the melancholy that you are going through, and you didn't even have time to process the emotions. If it makes you feel any better, this is probably my 32nd year as an entrepreneur. And I actually heard this morning a staff of mine who worked with me for 28 years of the 32 years was saying that she wanted to leave to go and take care of her mother who's suffering from early stage dementia or something like that. And I felt the pang of pain this morning, but I had time to process it, so I'm a bit more cheerful. But I hope we can carry on. And so I'm sorry to hear about that. I know there's a lot to deal with in that, and
It's part of the game. No worry.
it's part of the game, man. We'll bounce back. We'll bounce back, but at the same time, we will appreciate all the things they've done for us. Aim, you and I have been in this field for a long time. Uh, I just want to ask, without taking too much time, what got you started in the startup field? What triggered you? You could have gone. I mean, you and I just found out you went into accountancy. I'm one of the first early stage accountancy dropouts. I dropped out even before dropping out was fashionable in audit, and I said I don't want to put green ticks on papers. I rather do other things. So what got you into this?
I think, I didn't have the balls to drop out.
The balls.
I too deep in and plowed through. It's a very bad choice. But at the end, it all worked out. It was the thesis of my life has been failing forward, and through that experience of not dropping out, I ended up having to study one course for one semester, and had all this time to really explore what I wanted to do. That was the big question that I asked, which is, what I've learned, I'm not good at. But what does the world need of me? What is my meaning in life? And, I want to do something that I'm really excited about. Want to get to work, get up on Mondays and be the first one in the office, because that means I'm going to do a great job. Versus the folks that, are just don't want to show up. Kind of mentally checked out. Now, answering your question directly, what got me into this is there's so many literature out there to say, don't follow your passion, find something that you're an expert in, and once you discover it, then you can turn that into your strength, your calling. Or some folks just say, they discover things early. So I think everybody will have their own formula of finding that. For me, I kind of knew that I really love entrepreneurship and how people genuinely can come up with solutions and change the world and all that. But it was a context of living in Thailand where we relying on government was going to be a very slow process, and I think the nonprofit sector was not as strong as it is more so now, and there was not many avenues for somebody young like me to be able to really kind of claw our way out of decent middle class family, but also struggling with mountainous debt and other typical family issues. Now the reason why technology specifically was that I definitely had a sense that coming from the accountancy debacle, I realized that if I wasn't going to be good at something, I would definitely be back of the line, behind on my friends doing the job. But I were really smart about my career, and we've all got the same amount of time. We just don't know how much of it that's left. Mm-hmm. But I really have all these things I want to do, and I want to live a life well lived. There's a lot of places I want to go. There's a lot of people I want to take care of. there's a lot of causes I want to call it a day, whether it's at 45 or at 95, and said, yeah, we did some good. You did a good job, Aim. You were worth the rice and all the air and the pollution that you created. Now, entrepreneurship happens to be one of the fastest vehicle for us, not just to fix a community or industry, but also to fix my life for a very simple reason, was that during the global financial crisis, my family was massively in debt. And I did the math. During that time, I was working in a nonprofit, and it would take me 20 years with my salary, paying all my salary to this bank. We made some real estate investment that turned sour, and I will have to be a slave to that. And I said, well, I am already so deep in, what could be worse? Let's take a little bit of the money that we've got left and start a business. And at least, maybe we'll figure out a way to turn this and grow this little initial capital to be able to get ourselves out of this rut. And I think I made the right call, but there was definitely some dicey moments and hard yards along the way. I think in terms of startup specifically, I have to say that while life is not fair, I think technology is slightly meritocratic than most industries, simply because no amount of last name or family connections can teach you how to build software. Something as new as blockchain. Everybody's starting from the same spot, and it's kind of your opportunity to pick up these new ideas, new tools, and build something with it. Because all the large industries that play the old game, real estate, concessions, whatnot, those are high capital investment. Those are businesses with families that have the right connections, last name, have been in industries for centuries and decades. And for a young entrepreneur, we're never going to be able to crack that market. But with technology, you have a chance in any market, even in real estate. You can build a property tech. And there's a startup I just invested in that every property developer wanted to get in and invest, because we were doing fractionalized real estate ownership on the blockchain using NFTs. It's a mouthful of words. It's exciting. And all the developers don't know how to do it, but they wanted to do it. The founders worked on this idea for 4 years and just launched, to everybody's surprise, because they were able to get the licenses to do it. And that gave him a tremendous leg up that allows him to really just be in partnership with some of the biggest companies. But case in point is, there is no better time to be an entrepreneur, especially a tech entrepreneur, because the chance of you becoming an expert in blockchain. Literally, I have a friend who was studying and trading how to invest in cryptocurrency within a month, and people started calling him a guru and an expert because he knows more than the next guy.
So Aim, let's change gears. You have been a TEDx speaker. I saw your video on how to be a startup founder, the dark side, everything, right? I think I'll let you just take us through this journey. You and I have worked with entrepreneurs globally. We have seen the problems. Even identifying a problem statement is a problem. Take us through, and I'll be a student listening to what you have to say, and wherever I can, I'll jump in and ask questions, so that let the students of Asia Pacific University, as well as all the other people who are watching this, benefit from your wisdom, from what you have learned, and take it away, Aim, from the start.
Well, I mean, I guess the clip goes into much more detail, but I have to say one of the key starting blocks that really got me going deep beyond just building a chain of co-working spaces, but trying to help entrepreneurs and the ecosystem really thinking about how do I get the events person to talk with the global media, to talk with the corporate, and create a conference of 20,000 people. Really
Yes,
orchestrate.
your tech sauce was amazing conference.
But I had a good teacher, and that was Dash. So I saw him in
Oh
action.
gosh.
2013. I think the event will go down in history as probably one of the wildest, most exhilarating experience. Global startup youth. We brought people from all over the world, connections, incredible speakers, youths from literally the world over showed up to
100,
start building.
100 countries.
Exactly. And, it was endorsed by the highest level of government and many allies. And from that event, it led to, Startup Weekend, Malaysia, Mega, many other events, presidential visits and whatnot. But the tipping point I saw there was that I was building a box that was great for people to sit and work in, but I was inspired to see the potential much more. And then I think when we are able to observe other people's work, there's really no competition. Even if you're in the same industry, even if we're doing the same thing, even if we're in the same city, your efforts are adding to this large pie for an industry that barely exists, right? We're adding new players, we're adding new energy, we're adding new excitement. So I took back from that event, I was like, great artist deal. I said, I want to do this. I want to be this champion and put Thailand on the map, because we feel that every country in the region was getting a lot of love except Thailand, kind of with a Passover. We just had 2 unicorns during COVID. So we're a bit late to the party. And I think first off was that you'll pivot your ideas all the time. I think I lost count after 40 pitch decks within the first year. Keep tinkering. I just like, okay, well, we'll just keep reinventing the business as we kind of go along with it. But the mission and the vision never really changed. It usually gotten enlarged, right? So as I keep telling people, they'll know that the thesis of whether it's Hubba or Texels or even my life, which is we're here to enable people to achieve their dreams, and from that success, we will be very well rewarded. If our members do well in the co-working space, the space is full. If our media and conferences highlight successful founders, people from all over the world who want to come to Thailand, and in my angel investing career or an Impact Collective, which is an accelerator for impact startups across Asia Pacific, if we do our job right and we add a ton of value, some of the best companies will show up and apply. And then now we have 50 in our current cohort, and I've already invested now 21 companies, more so in this past year than the entire decade combined. So pivoting is what I want to say, that it's really not something to be afraid of, and I think yes, it is sometimes a bit painful, a bit chaotic, but usually if you're always listening to market trends, if you're always talking to the right people, having really like a kind of a brain trust, so to speak, you're always able to improve and refine ideas. I've seen projects done by global agencies like IDEO, and they might come in with a Bible, right? But we still can improve from IDEO's work, and that's with another passion project of mine around education. Now, I think lastly I want to say which is that behind the success of most entrepreneurs is actually, a village, support net, safety net of all sorts of people, whether it's spouse, whether it's teammates, whether it's mentors, whether it's friends, whether it's the ecosystem of different programs. But a lot of founders tap into it way too late. I've seen in many cases, a founder might say like, I need $1 million within a week after not talking to their investors for ages, but they're afraid to show weakness, or it's a sign that they might not have everything figured out. But they left it way too late for a lot of people to help out. And this happens over and over again. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. You are going to fail. You are going to mess up. And you're going to have, weird preconceptions of how businesses work or how to do HR. You've read a bunch of books, and a bunch of things might not be able to be applied in real life. But now that you're on this journey, how can you respond to that? How are you actually taking the learning really quickly and fixing things really quickly? I think the safety net allows you to have this cushion, to have the time to do those things, to figure things out. Because once there's no more time, once there's no more money, you're kind of toast. That's when the biggest breakups and founders, the issues between the team and the investor and everything starts to break at the seam, because you've got to meet payroll and customers are banging on the door. So I feel that some of the best entrepreneurs, before they even jump on this journey, there is no perfect time, but they try their hardest to always create a safety net, allies, people they can call. I'm going to raise funding in the next year, and I want to send you my deck, right? They're always like, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, but I might recruit you in a year. Even staff that left me, and I say, well, you're an amazing staff. You might not have fit in with this company, but I think I'd love to work with you in the next, few projects to come. And as your safety net grows, your optionality grows, you will have so much more solutions, because there is always a person that has solved your problem before. You just don't know them yet. They're just a stranger. You've just not been introduced. And if you can, all problems mostly, originate from some humans. So if you know where to find those humans, find your tribe, you'll be in good luck. But if you don't, and you're gonna mull over it and worry and try to figure things out, yeah, eventually you would, but you would have wasted a lot of time and resources trying and failing that you could have spent better elsewhere. So that's really been my secret sauce, which is I'm a jack of all trades, as you can see from my resume, master of very little, but that everybody will know. Whenever there's a problem in Thailand, I know exactly who I need to talk to get to somebody who I need to talk to. And from there, we're going to figure things out. Because with the right energy and the right minds together working on a hard problem, there's going to be solutions. But the moment when the guns are drawn at each other, you've got everybody eating each other up, placing blame, being upset. Nobody's working anymore because you're dealing with legal and money and all sorts of nonsense. That's when the end is close.
So, what's your take on early stage entrepreneurs today? A lot of them dream of building the next unicorn. Educators put in a lot of KPIs in you need to become successful. It puts a lot of pressure. And I basically have a different perspective that early stage startup entrepreneurs should be like experimenters. They should be able to learn to fail, and fix things as they go along. And what you said just now, when there is a crisis, you know who to call. And this is all what we call as anti-fragile human beings, right? What are your thoughts on those things? And like in your video, you said all the mistakes entrepreneurs make take us to the dark side and bring us back.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest dark side, especially in a university setting, it's sometimes we're in a kind of our own echo chamber. It's very siloed. You're kind of just talking to your friends who are all finance, all marketing. We think the same way, cut from the same cloth. And then you try to start business together and you realize like the skills aren't complementary. It really takes a well-rounded team of product managers and finance and people really to get together and say, we want to really tackle a hard problem. And I think that's one of the challenge for young entrepreneurs is that there's not enough chance and experience to explore different things because you've got KPIs. You've got an entrepreneurship course and say you need to launch a mock business by this quarter and make this much revenue to get an A or something, right? There's just so much structure. We have playbooks and canvases and like tick, 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 do this, present, cookie cutter, 5 to 7 minutes, 3 minutes Q&A, pitch, done, boom. But the wonder, the excitement, the need, the drive isn't there. And I think that was one of the things I discovered having had so much terrain to try different careers, selling stuff online, assisting a food stylist, trading stocks, helping out at a restaurant, doing nonprofits and volunteer work was to figure out what I wanted to do and didn't like, being able to discover myself where I would excel, where I wanted to spend more time, where I wanted to spend less time. And then through those experiences as well, to really develop a diverse network, right? On a given day, the startup will ask me, I need influencers for live shopping. I need to talk to real estate CEOs. And are you interested to invest in, a cannabis company? And those, that diversity comes from a lot of the careers that I've picked up. So spending more time to explore the world, explore many different careers is something that's not encouraged enough. And I think the project-based, competency-based learning that's evolving in our curriculum, where we're seeing a lot of universities giving students 9 months to go and intern at a startup. I think those are all amazing programs that should be rolled out more. But even if they don't exist, you can kind of create your own journey, design your own game, so to speak. And I think that level of self-sovereignty and being in control, in charge of your life, that's something I want to encourage everybody in this call more, because nobody needs to tell you to go and get that internship or buy your first NFT or read about cryptocurrency or space technology. But if you do, you're going to open more doors and you're going to be, much more informed, smarter than 99% of other folks who are waiting to be force-fed these information when it's become mainstream. And I have to say, one of the best hacks to really meet incredible people and lifelong friends is through volunteering. And that's why I spent so much time going back to Malaysia. Normally, I'm supposed to be there 3 times a year, mostly around speaking and volunteering for some startup weekends or some conferences or, some stuff that Dash does. But the idea is you get to make incredibly profound relationships that are not based on transactions. What can you do for me? What can I do for you? But it's based on values. It's based on mission. It's based on what people believe. And when you touch somebody at that level, the sparks fly. You're like long lost brothers and sisters. So I'm blessed having volunteered and support so many causes like Techstars and Google for Startups and many different networks. And those networks have allowed me to call, the CEO of AngelList or co-founder of Coinbase whenever I want or need something. And I think, we'll have so many more questions, but I also want to hear from the audience if there's anything I could do to shed some light into entrepreneurship.
I think there'll be questions coming in 5-10 minutes. But before we jump into the questions, I want to ask you, what are the biggest mistakes early stage founders do? And what is the value of programs like Startup Weekend? I know you and I have run so many Startup Weekends that we have seen a lot of things. But for listeners to hear from someone like you who have done so many programs like this, and thank you just now for mentioning GS Global Startup Youth. That's very heartening to know that it was one of the fire starters in you as well. So tell us about some of the early stage mistakes startups make, plus the value of programs like Startup Weekend.
Yeah. So I guess one of the most notable mistake that continues to haunt me and many founders is caring more about certain things and not spending enough time on certain things that, while it seems trivial, but end up mattering. So for an example, let's say founders in Thailand often have terrible books and governance. The back end is a mess. You're smiling, Dash, because I'm sure the same everywhere. Now, initially, we can always roll it over and say, we'll deal with it later. Right? But over time, you're trying to raise funding and you can't find paperwork and your numbers don't look great and you can't get a bank loan and you've got all this messy stuff that you have to spend even more time and effort. And those things come with a little bit of experience. Folks should give you guidance and say, like, talk to this accountant, do this, don't do that. But it points to a larger trend and also links a bit with Startup Weekend, which is a lot of us are attracted by the limelight and the showbiz side of entrepreneurship, speaking and going to events and crushing it and hosting epic parties and having fancy offices. The physical manifestation of success versus actually doing the work. And sometimes we, even myself included, we get kind of dragged into the limelight. We get sucked into, believing the voices are in our head, what people are saying about us. And then, if you lose your eye from the ball, if you're not spending enough time in the business, if you're not looking at the data, if you're not talking to the team, then you're going to miss a lot of things that could, blindside you. And that's, the number one goal of the business is to be successful. Creating impact and solving problems for your customer is paramount. And the PR and everything is great. And I definitely went overboard in certain years, trying really hard to really put Thailand on the map, and spending not enough time with the team and on other areas. And if I had to mentor myself again, looking back, which is like, you need to know that every time, even spent on the business, one business, and I had started a few at the same time, the chances of you failing is already astronomically high. I think in an industry average is 96% of us will not make it, 4 will, hitting the high marks, whatever that may be, unicorn, sub-unicorn, right? So the chances of each vintage each year are so low, and it's probably even lower because the data is skewed towards Silicon Valley. Now, compound that by spending only a few minutes in one business, running to the other. At some point in my life, I had 8 meetings of 8 companies, all in the same day. Everything was gone astray. Everybody was needing help. And I got to a point where I'm like, why am I doing this? I can't barely run one shop. Why am I running 8 at the same time? And bleeding cash left and right. And then that got me to a point where I'm like, okay, we need to consolidate. We need to focus, because the more you split up your time, the less likely you will succeed. And those, I think when you're young, you think you can conquer the world and start a conglomerate and do, everything at the same time, because you've got all this energy. I don't need to sleep. I can work all night. I got to do this before other people does it. There's so much opportunity. But then you realize that, okay, you actually need to pace yourself. This is a marathon, not a sprint. One of my personal coaches, Oko, another Techstars alumni, he always tell me, like, you need to think yourself as a high performance athlete and really know how to pace yourself, when to run and when to pause and rest, and then when to restart again.
I haven't seen Oko in a long time. Would you say that startup is for anyone who has a problem to solve improvements for current existing products?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting question. Shall we tackle that?
Yeah, hey, all yours.
Sure. So I guess, there's definitely like tons of existing problems already, and then maybe this current solution are terrible. Case in point would be in my office. We had some staff the other day say, like, it's really, passionate about plastic waste. Sounds like a solved problem, but if you still go around town, even with Thailand, with a plastic ban, with food delivery, with all the packaging of e-commerce, it's just full of plastic. I literally saw today a biodegradable plate wrapped in plastic bag. And I was like, what's going on here? This is crazy. It should be wrapped in maybe, banana leaves or something.
Banana leaf, yes.
Exactly, right? And even if the current solutions start exist, they're not ubiquitous. They're not mainstream. They still need work. And that's really the art of entrepreneurship, which is looking at the lens of everything in the world is a challenge and an opportunity to solve a hard problem, an opportunity to make money and meaning, and even a problem as simple and as old as let's have more bioplastics and biodegradable, still unsolved, and new problems emerge. So I think you should look just around you, find things that upset you, that you feel strongly, passionately about, and take a crack at it. One of the biggest failings, you were asking about failures that I made, was not to launch Grab. Tall claim, right? I came to Malaysia 2013, my taxi. We now know about Malaysian cabbies. It was quite an experience. I come from Thailand. I was mugged twice on Thai cabs, but it was mostly my fault. I was probably not very, I couldn't remember much on the ride home. Don't ask me why. But my point is, I looked at my taxi and I'm like, wow, somebody's taking a crap, like a stab at it. Like, okay, pinpoint A to point B, figure out how to pay somebody. Didn't look like much, but in my view, I just thought that if I launch this in Thailand, the taxi mafia are going to come and burn my house down, and it's not going to work because I don't have the connections. So I thought about it and I said, nah, not for me. And other people said, we're gonna keep going, and guess where they're now. So if you don't want to be that guy or lady who sees his app and said, yeah, I thought of the same idea in APU when I was taking a shower, but I didn't do anything about it. And I'm so upset at myself because I thought it was a really good idea. Then I think you need to explore entrepreneurship more seriously.
Kendra, do you think it's good to have limits to things when starting out?
Well, I'm a Buddhist, and I know Dash is quite mystical. So we always say that in life you have to have moderation. But I think as a young person, I have to admit that I definitely was very extreme. And I think it's more about testing your limits and then finding out, knowing what they are, to really understand how much hours of sleep do you need to be functional in the office and not agitated and ripping people's heads off. How much projects you can do at the same time without screwing up stuff for all your clients. I had a guy, I was mentoring his career. He had 7 different startup projects happening at the same time in his 4th year. And one of the things he admitted to me was he had no time for his girlfriend and they were breaking up. And he was also failing in the projects. He felt that because he was just shuffling back and forth, a lot of them were not hitting the marks. They were not progressing. And my advice to them was simply, I know how you feel. I was there. I tested my limits. I had, at one point, I started 27 companies, co-founded 27 companies. You were in a co-working space. Everybody came to you with ideas. Everything was all possible. It was fun until you realize you actually have to work on them and build it. And then I got to a point where it was like, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna ruin both my main business and all the other shop because I have no time. And the mark of being busy, while it may be a status symbol because you're such a jet setter that you're always completely exhausted and have no time, but it's actually a terrible way to live, right? Steve Jobs would always say that an executive need to have a lot of free time so they can think, so they can fill that void with new stuff, not always putting out fires. And you'll just have to either be Jobsian or Muskian. And Musk will say, let's do 5-minute slots, plan the whole day. And I couldn't even keep 15-minute slots. It's just too insane. I need a break between sessions. I need to go play with my nephew, grab a coffee, talk to somebody. And you need to figure out how you operate to be the most productive version. And it's everyone, there is no one size fits all. So who would I consider as the best support in your own safety net? Ooh, that's an easy one. Dash, I'm sure you can answer that one too.
You go first. It's your show, man.
I definitely have to say my wife. It's easy. She's the one that picked me and has been blessed by somebody who's was my girlfriend and would wire me like $100,000 to meet payroll. I'll pay some event suppliers because my client wouldn't pay in time, to stick out thick or thin, even with no salaries for like years on end, to kind of keep the lights on and put a roof over my head and make sure I'm not on the streets. So, like I said, everybody needs a safety net, and I was really lucky to have her. And then also, the family who's invested their heirlooms and life savings to help me launch my company, and many other folks along the way. So I would say wife comes to mind first, but there's no shortage of people like the Oscars to thank for putting me where I am today.
It's like what you said. There is a village behind every entrepreneur. There's a huge ecosystem that's supporting admin. Admin, how do I decide whether I'm capable of starting a business?
I think everybody is admin. If you see a seller online in Thailand, she might have had a shop in some mall and it closed down because of COVID. She might never have had a shop. She was picking out her secondhand clothes to sell, finding products, have no background in technology, no license to build any business, and can make 5-6 figure income. If those folks can do it, you can do it. And it really is more about what are you willing to give up to get to what you want to build, what you want to have, right? And if you're willing to do the yards and learn and try and figure out a bunch of different things and keep going, then I think anybody can do it. Even this platform that we're using, StreamYard, right? It exited for billions of dollars to hop in. Everybody thought it was just another one of these streaming platform. Doesn't look like much. It did fairly, very little, but it's very minimal. It's very useful. And it just kept going, even though we're bleeding millions and, hosting these live streams, it's expensive. But the founders just kept adding features. And if you saw the trajectory, they outlived so many other platforms and became useful enough, interesting enough. So I think, even something as ubiquitous as these live streaming platform, one in hundreds, if not thousands of similar ideas. But the founders found a right niche and a right crack at it. Yeah. So just go out there and give it a go. And the worst thing you'll do is you'll find out that you might be capable of running it, but you don't actually like it. I have so many folks that I know, they're CEOs of companies, by happenstance, or they were asked to join as a co-founder or whatnot. And they're like, actually I prefer a corporate career, but I can do this. You might end up finding out that you don't like it, and that's okay.
And while we wait, there's more questions. Jeremy Chung, from your opinion, how do you think a student can prepare for being a startup founder in the future while studying in university?
Yeah, Jeremy, great question. Just building on what Adnim asked just now, which is you've got to really taste and get as much of the experience. And I'm sure at APU and with Dash, there's gonna be a ton of hackathons and competition coming up. Those are like mini simulation of startup life in 3 days, or in a few, boot camps in a few months. The idea is you go through all the experience of, finding an idea, talking to customers, refining your pitch, building a product, trying to sell it. And there is no better preparation than actually giving it a go. Experiential learning at its best. And entrepreneurship is a muscle. You really need to keep flexing, keep trying out, keep pushing yourselves. And then the university, I am sure, has so many opportunities and resources. And even outside, a lot of people, like I come from a university that we don't have the biggest campus, Thammasat University, compared to our much more famous, I would say, counterparties in Thailand. But all of our student base are renowned for competing in case studies. Even as an accounting grad, I participated in L'Oreal Brandstorm, went to do a marketing case competition, won, got a chance to go to France. I had no right to be in France, but you just have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then that experience taught me a bunch about digital marketing. So it's really, you've got the same amount of time. It's how you spend it, right? And I did regret spending it too much in the bars and and all sorts of weird places. And I would have been much more successful at a younger age had I knew about startups then.
How much time and effort invested?
Atria, I mean, I guess it's very hard to quantify return on investment in time, but I think a good test would be like, are you interested to read about blogs on anything on a given day? Are you always consuming content, joining discussions, reading Twitter feeds, watching clips out of your own drive because it's interesting? And you're always learning from, success of failures of founders. You're always learning about new interesting technologies. I don't think it will lead specifically to startup success, but it will prepare you to be more knowledgeable, be like a mini expert, thought leader in that field. And then it's really where you want to be, which is, in order to build a team, everybody has dreams, right? But you're telling your friends and peers that your idea and dream is more interesting. Come and help me build them. Join my rocket ship. I don't want to join yours. So the idea is, can you lead? So to be able to lead, you need to be really knowledgeable. You need to have immersed yourself in some topic, because expertise is, one of the building blocks of leadership. It's not the be all end all. Definitely need to learn how to manage people and how to do the other work, planning and strategizing. But if you had to invest on a daily basis, I would say, as a starting point, is to be a nerd, enjoy trying, learning everything. Stop reading about NFTs. Buy your first NFT. Stop learning about how to trade crypto. Actually, open an account.
Nothing like doing.
Yeah, for
We'd like
sure.
to know if investors in Malaysia, Southeast Asia are interested in investing in a startup that tackles on circular economy business model and products, etc.
Yeah, there's research from BlackRock that's out not so recently, but I think it said there's some trillions of dollars. I need to look it up. Allocated to sustainability in the next 5 years before 2030, and even in the Impact Collective, the accelerator, 3 months, people join remotely, programs run out in Korea, looking for startups across Asia Pacific. Of the 50 teams that we've selected, the top 10 will get an automatic term sheet, which is an offer for investment of anywhere between $50,000 to $500,000. And the top 10 will be voted by the community, a bit like within the blockchain space called decentralized autonomous organization. So we're giving the power to the experts and the community and the mentors to vote in their favorite. So that is the case in point that there is an increasing interest to invest in climate tech, circular economy business model. There's a great accelerator and program called the Incubation Network that does a lot of things around ocean plastics and flexibles. So you just got to be out there asking, looking for the right tribe. Look for impact entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship. This is going to be a massive wave. Every year, COP26, COP27. 2-3 years ago, I met a startup called Enapter in a pitching competition. They were doing hydrogen in Chiang Mai, and everybody was talking about EVs and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work in Thailand. And then guess what? They won the Earthshot Prize with Prince William. Part of the team is based in Thailand. I'm like, so I sent the founder a message. I'm really sad that I was such an idiot. I couldn't see the potential of your business. But here I am now. If you ever need to talk to me, but congratulations. But yeah, I'm sorry I kind of passed over on you. So the time has come. It's new, it's novel until it's not. And I think what you're going to see more of is that more and more companies, startups and otherwise, are being pushed to take a stand on environmental, social issues. So everybody's talking about completely circular, all, reusable, renewable materials. We're going to go net zero, right? All the large tech companies. But they need to do more, right? The backlash on folks like Facebook is that people want the companies that they love to actually do good in the world, and they're pushing for more and more accountability. So what we're going to see is startups will start to have a stronger social and environmental mission. Social enterprises, on the other hand, will need to step up and be more commercially savvy and accelerate their solutions, because the world cannot wait. And this convergence is where I sit. The startup world and the impact world. And I can't wait for these two worlds to collide.
While we wait for is it smart to start your own business even though you did not study anything related to business in college?
I think, of course, Trevor. I mean, it's even better as you didn't study it. It doesn't mean that you can't learn about it. There's no shortage of interesting books and courses and programs. I teach incubation acceleration program for medical doctors, for researchers, for all sorts of folks that have no experience in business, but they look at business as a tool, as a vehicle, as a way to be able to find money, raise funding, organize people to achieve their goals. So even if you don't study it, these tools are very useful. They're skills that can be applied. More and more entrepreneurship are being asked to go in hospitals, in nonprofits, in many, many different industries that typically are not very entrepreneurial. And you will have a set of skills that even if you don't go through with it and come out of college working on a different career, you will get a chance to even be considered to join some of the most exciting teams in those companies. Oftentimes it's a transformation, corporate venture capital, innovation department, where it's usually mandated by the CEOs, the board, and they're the ones that have most of the fun. So I would highly recommend to get involved right away, because it will open this new opportunity and then career field of whatever you're learning, plus innovation and entrepreneurship.
Wow, seven! It's time is flying.
I know.
There's one last question, and then I'll have a few minutes with you.
All right, mentally affect you. Well, I guess the failure, is such a, like I said, a wrong rap sheet. But I guess one of the biggest issue was always around listening to the wrong signals. So I was running this company, and every time we go out and fundraise, and we had this very long raise, 18 months, but everybody was telling me, why aren't you more like WeWork? Why aren't you, raising 100, $1 million? I would literally send people pitch deck, and they say, "Oh, your pitch deck's not detailed enough, and we need more details." And then I ask them, "So what do you want?" And they're like, "WeWork." I'm like, "But we're not trying to be WeWork." And as more and more investors keep telling me that, I started to lose my way. I started to need to work with the team. Like, I need you to grow at any cost. We need to hit the numbers. Otherwise, we can't raise. And kind of deviating from what I believed in, it led us down to a very strange path because WeWork imploded in August of 2019. And it left a sour taste in the whole co-working industry. Even though the business was all sound, we were on the right thesis, the future of work. People wanted to get out of the house, but they don't want to go to the office. And these spaces are actually much more convenient, flexible. So nothing changed, but the funding landscape changed. And my failure was not believing in our own strategy, not understanding our own growth metrics and how we want to achieve. And I look at some friends who run a hostel, one location, made it the best place in Thailand, called The Yard. And they suffered greatly from the lack of tourists and had to remodel a lot their hostel into private offices. And then they're going to remodel it back. But they stuck to their guns. They did one thing really great, which is to build the best hostel ever. And they weren't pressured by investors. They weren't trying to chase unicorn billion-dollar status. And they're so much happy. So I usually go out and hang out with them to really zen out and calm myself down. They want to grow the business, and they're going to figure out how to grow it. But you need to figure out your own pace, your own time. And if you keep comparing yourself to the other unicorn founder, then you're always perpetually going to be miserable, because once you hit unicorn status, there's a decacorn, then there's Bezos, then there's Musk. There is no shortage of how you can compare yourself to the greats. And usually when you do that and you set such a high bar for yourself, unachievable bar for the team, and you spend less time working on the business but just trying to make the numbers look pretty, that creates a lot of tension, a lot of stress, unnecessary in the team. Rather, we should have just focused on, let's build the best product ever, make money, stay profitable, keep working this, keep figuring out ways how to make this more efficient, stop chasing pipe dreams and dollar signs. That's my biggest failure in learning.
Beautiful. And what does the startup ecosystem in this region need? What do you think is missing in Asia Pacific?
At the early stage, I would say better coaches. At some point when I was really kind of lost around early 2019, because we're already starting to see a lot of stress and tension from WeWork. We kind of knew that we're going to go belly up. We didn't know it was going to be that fast, that hard. But, we were kind of already stuck in this direction, right? We made promises. We had to hit those numbers. And I was reaching out to my co-founding team. Sometimes it's hard to spill your guts to your co-founder that you're going through issues. There might be issues at home. There might be issues with mentally. There's a lot of accumulated stress from not sleeping well for years and years. And I was telling people, I think I need a coach. I think the way I'm operating my life does not work, but I don't know how to fix it. And people are like, you don't need it. It's expensive. Just talk to me. In Thailand, we always say the word "su-su," fighting. Keep fighting. It's okay. All right, let's go. But that's a terrible advice, because you don't know what those people are fighting up against. And you just tell them to suck it up, keep going, right? But it's not acknowledging and going to the root cause. So I just kept sweeping my need for a coach aside, and then until a lot of things unraveled. A lot of things could have been dealt much better if I had engaged a coach in April October of 2019 rather than October of 2019. And I could have made a much better decision. We could have dealt with so many problems head on. Life would be so much better. But I didn't listen to myself, and I live to share all my failures about it. So my point is, I think all great entrepreneur in the region needs a coach. And that is a mission that me and even folks like Jeffrey Payne at Golden Gate Ventures and this network called the ICSA, the Innovation Sustainability Alliance out in Singapore. We're all saying the same thing. We all need a coach. We all need to work on mental health issues because there is only so much we can share to our spouse and our family and our friends. Yeah. A lot of time they don't understand the entrepreneurial life. For an example, if you had a few days left on payroll and you know your staff needed the money to sustain themselves and their family, but because of COVID, you need to go and ask them for a 50% kind of a pay cut, but then you don't even have the other 50% to pay them, and you need to figure out how to get your clients to pay you faster. How do you deal with those kind of stress? And then go into your family. They'll probably tell you, you should quit your startup, go get a job. You go tell your friends, they're like, no, I don't want to lend you your money, right? You go to your co-founders, they're like, dude, like, deal with it. So a lot of times, the higher you go, the lonelier the climb, right? And that's when you realize that, okay, sometimes you just need somebody who's objective outside of, the day-to-day grind of your company to give you some objective, honest advice that you would actually listen to.
What's a mark of qualities of a good coach or a mentor? I know you have to go. It's I've got only 2 minutes, man. The time's run so fast.
I know, exactly. Listen a lot. I think you get a lot of executive coaches or have a book, a fancy collateral. They have some trial sessions, and they got a lot of techniques up their sleeve. But are they pushing you through a process? Are they really listening to you? And I think they need to have some experience dealing with founders or have been founders, so they'll understand and empathize what you're going through. And you don't need to explain it in what is a startup, right? And I think lastly, it's just be chemistry. Sometimes it's Oko is one of my coach. I have another friend here who's an executive coach, and I bounce between a few different folks for different things. But the ones I picked are the ones that I feel like I can be honest and share everything with them, and I feel safe. I feel like they get me, and I like their style, and I think I really want to work with them. And it takes some time to find that match, because you're gonna tell them more deepest, darkest secret and things than you normally would to anybody else. So you really need to find that person that you trust.
Aim, thank you very much. Two questions. What is next for you? Where's the life leading you to?
I am currently trying to build a portfolio. I have a fund number. I wanted to invest in about 100 startups and see how life is like. I'm already regretting that decision. At 21, it's an honor to get a chance to be involved in companies and actually work in them. It does tax my time and wallet. It is a profession of love. We pay money to work in the other people's business. And the joke is that probably crypto investing, Bitcoin at all-time high, probably better to invest in the crypto markets. But we do it because we love the idea, we love the founder. See me more headed down the angel and venture route, but I will never be able to take the community builder out of me. So I will continue to support co-working spaces, great events like this one, whatever Dash is cooking up. And, I think the revival of co-working and tech conferences will happen in the next few years as travel picks back up. And I think there will be revenge tech travel and, so much pent up demand of people just wanting to connect. The best social technology is face-to-face. This is great. I have a ring light on. It's easy to listen to this from the comfort of your room, but the impact of sharing presence, seeing somebody face-to-face. As an event organizer, there's no comparison of being in the same room with like President Obama. So stay tuned. I'll definitely see y'all in KL and in across Malaysia more so in the near future.
We'll invite you. We'll invite you to APU.
I would love to be there in person and check out campus. And there was a last question that popped up quickly. I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah. I think there was something about investment. Rachel, could we have that question?
Starting investment. So I have a syndicate. So we invest with a bunch of super angels here in Thailand. It's about 10 of us, and we self-proclaimed. We just invest in a lot of startup, make a lot of bets. People think we're easy money. We're actually smart money. So we put together maybe anywhere between $30,000 to $300,000. Not big check yet, but the amount is growing. But the idea is we come in with the experience and the network, and obviously we help signal to other funds that this is vetted by the community. This is vetted by seasoned entrepreneurs, the ex-country head of Line and Google, the lead of 500 tuk-tuks, and KT Ventures, a venture arm of a bank. So the idea is a lot of VC seed funds actually like angels that put in money because they know that we're gonna be there to mentor and monitor and be the reality check and give these entrepreneurs a good tough loving, and we're great signaling to make other investors come on board. So I hope to co-invest in some deals in Malaysia. So if you have any interesting projects, do send them over.
Last question. Aim, what would you put on a billboard?
What's that?
What would you put on a billboard for everyone to see? Is a Shane Parrish question, or is it a Tim Ferriss question?
Put on the billboard?
Yeah.
Wow. I never gotten this one, even in job interviews. That's interesting. I would say share me your startup story, and I'll share you mine. Nothing is better than a good chat over coffee. And everybody in this call, I'm sure at APU, you're going to be future unicorn founders, senior executives, and rock stars. So I have much respect for everybody, especially the next generation. But I also fear nobody, and I'm ready to, if I'm going to work on an idea and I'm going to give it my all, come what may, we're going to take a crack at it. We work or otherwise. We're going to give them a run for their money.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much, Aim. It was hugely valuable. I hope all those who are listening heard the journey of a startup entrepreneur, what it takes to be a startup entrepreneur, and you know how to get to Aim. He will be in Malaysia, or if he's got the time, I'll bring him over to APU. Thank you so much once again, my dear friend, and keep well. Hello to the lady of the house, and take good care of yourself. Stay safe, and thank you very much, everyone who have been following us. This is our 12th session, the pinnacle, the crown jewel session. I mean, we had every single speaker was amazing. This would be my final Enterprise Wednesday. There would be other people who would be hosting it from the next one onwards. Thank you so much, and to Jerry, who has always been supporting from behind, and also to please stay in touch, folks. Okay. And also to Rachel and to Janita before that, everyone, thank you so much. And for those of you who want your certificate, you got your QR code coming over. Aim, once again, thank you so much. I'm very humbled to have had you speak at Enterprise at APU.
Thank you for having me, and we'll love to see y'all in person. Keep running this great event, and I've sent a link. You can always find me. The easiest person to find. Respond to every email. Just make sure that you send me your best pitch, and I'm gonna give you some honest opinion. But until then, Dash and everybody who's in this call, take care and keep fighting the good fight. I think last thing would be look into impact, look to climate change, look to sustainability. The world has a lot of amazing technology. The new MacBook Pros are amazing, but I have 5 laptops, so I need another one that's 10 times faster than the one that I barely use. But do we need clean air, water, food, new novel medicine for vaccines? So this is the best time to get into impact entrepreneurship. So look to that seriously, and I hope to see you in Impact Collective and many other programs that I host.
Thank you, Aim. Cheers. Always inspired by you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Thank you, folks.